of the day. First up from cricket. India is currently taking on England in the fifth and final test match at Dharamsala from today onwards. Now, a brilliant bowling display from India's Kuldeep Yadav and Ravichandran Ashwin's masterclass helped India bowl out England to a paltry total of 218 runs on day one of the fifth and final test match. Kuldeep Yadav took his fourth 5-wicket haul, giving away 72 runs. Together with Ravichandran Ashwin, who took 4 for 51, the duo shared 9 wickets between them, with Ravindra Jadeja chipping away with 1. In the second session, England lost 6 wickets in the session for 94, and in the morning session, opener Zach Crawley made a classy unbeaten half-century after surviving an extended opening spell from the Indian pacer. He scored his fourth 50 of the series, but once again failed to convert it. Earlier, England's skipper won the toss and opted to bat first. At one stage, they were cruising at 137 for a loss of 2 wickets, but the next was 8 wickets for just 81 runs. For India, Devdutt Padikkal became the 5th debutant in the series, who came in place of Rajat Patidar. Ravichandran Ashwin, who himself is playing his 100th test, handed Padikkal his debut cap. Ashwin was handed his 100th test cap in a special ceremony by the head coach, Rahul Dravid. India is currently leading the 5-match series by 3-1, and till the last reports came in, India were at 72 for a loss of no wicket. And now to discuss more on this, I'm joined by DD India correspondent from Bristol, John Pivac. John, thank you so much for joining us once again here on Sports Pass, looking at the condition of England and also considering the 100th test cap for Bairstow, but departing for 29. What do you think of the current performance of England today?
Well, woeful is how I've heard it described here in the English media. They are not impressed with how England have performed, especially England's batsmen. They've been very critical of them this entire series, and certainly this 5th test doesn't seem to be making things any better. As you say, England all out for 218, as we've seen in this series and as was repeated again today on the first day of this 5th and final test. England started brightly with Zach Crawley, and then we had a middle order collapse and finishing on a very poor total. At one stage, England were 175 for 3, and then just 6 overs later they were 183 for 8 before finishing all out for 218. So England have got a lot of problems in their middle order. None of their normally reliable batsmen there are able to deliver, it seems, this winter. Remember, of course, the winter started with the World Cup, which England did very poorly in as well. So really, this is a tour of India to forget for England, both in the World Cup and, it would seem, in this Test series as well. India looking very strong indeed. England looking like they have a lot of questions to answer about where they go from here.
What does this reflect on the captaincy of Team England?
Well, I think England really have got some decisions to make about whether they push ahead with this Bazball style, which is this exciting form of cricket, this aggressive form of cricket, where they're playing all forms of the game like a one-day match, really. So even test match cricket as well. It's certainly got people talking when they started playing this way, and it's got a lot more interest in the test game again after that really, I think you could argue, was waning here. So I think those are the positives, but there are some people who say that this style of cricket just can't be employed in every test they play, that you have to adapt to the conditions, you have to adapt to the bowlers. We've seen India with their spin bowlers really ripping their way through England's middle order in most of these tests. So that is something that England are going to have to confront. I'm sure what we're going to hear from England at the end of this tour is they are going to say that it's just poor form, and that they'll put this behind them and they'll move on, and that they'll hope for better this summer in England when they play some tests here. I'm sure that's what we're going to hear, but I think we're going to be hearing more questions about whether the style in which England are playing is a style that they should keep with going forward as they play more cricket this summer.
And looking at the score right now of this particular test match series, do you think would they be able to win this to make it a respectable outing for themselves?
Well, yeah, I was just checking the score here, and I think, to be honest, at 73 for no loss, India are in a very strong position, and that certainly is going to stand them in good stead to win this fifth and final test. Some people saying actually India were unlucky to lose the first test. This could have been a 5-0 whitewash is what some people here are certainly arguing. But for England, it's a disappointing end, isn't it? Because they came into this winter tour of India hoping for good things. They were quite well fancied in the World Cup itself and then performed very poorly indeed. It really started badly when they lost their opening match. So I think a lot of people here are going to be disappointed. They're going to be disappointed that they couldn't do better against an India team that had really been badly depleted by injuries. This is not a hugely experienced India team. I think that's very promising for Indian cricket fans, that you have some excellent youngsters coming through in the India squad who are able to put some of the best teams in the world really under a lot of pressure. So I think disappointment for England, a lot of promise for India, and certainly questions being asked about England going forward.
Indeed. Thank you so much, John, for joining us and bringing us a rounded perspective on England's performance so far and today as well in the fifth and final test match against India. Thank you. Moving on in sports buzz, well, members of the England cricket team, including